The Invisible Barrier. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into some really groundbreaking research that shines a light on a hidden challenge. One that can completely derail a young person's career before it even gets started. So let me ask you something. What if the single biggest thing holding someone back at work was something you couldn't see, something their boss couldn't see, their co-workers couldn't see, no one could? That's really the mystery we are unpacking today. Because here's the thing. What an employer might write off as laziness or, just a bad attitude could actually be something else entirely. It could be the lingering, invisible effects of a moderate traumatic brain injury or TBI. And this is the whole problem. This misinterpretation creates what one researcher has called an invisible barrier to success. Okay, so let's dig into this invisible barrier. See, after a moderate brain injury, especially one that happens when you're young, a person can look completely fine on the outside. You'd never know anything happened. The physical recovery might seem total, but inside something fundamental has changed. That change happens in an area we call our executive functions. The easiest way to think about these, they're kind of like the CEO of your brain. Seriously, they're all the high-level mental processes that manage everything else. All the planning, the organizing, the decision-making, and crucially, keeping our behavior in check. So what happens when that CEO gets impaired by an injury? Well, you start to see these very specific real-world problems pop up. All of a sudden, just managing your time feels like this monumental task. Adapting to a tiny change in a project at work feels totally overwhelming. And following a simple list of instructions becomes a real struggle. And you can see how all of these are absolutely critical skills for pretty much any job. But an employer doesn't see an impaired CEO of the brain, right? They just see missed deadlines, constant misunderstandings, and what looks for all the world like a simple lack of effort. And this is the key. These aren't character flaws. They are the direct neurocognitive consequences of an injury. Now, this exact problem is what led industrial psychologist Dr. Esme Noble in South Africa to dig deeper. She was seeing this issue over and over and over again in her work, and she realized that the very professionals who were supposed to be helping these young adults, well, they were essentially flying blind. She pinpointed 3 huge gaps in the system. First, there was no scientifically proven model to predict if someone with this kind of injury could actually succeed at work. Second, there wasn't even a reliable questionnaire to assess them properly. Third, the brain experts, the neuropsychologists, they weren't even talking to the workplace experts, the industrial psychologists. There was just no bridge connecting between these two worlds. So Dr. Noble decided she was going to build that bridge. Her research wasn't just one-off study. It was this incredibly methodological, step-by-step investigation designed to connect 2 completely different fields of science to solve a very real-world problem. The whole point was to create that proverbial bridge. She wanted to take everything we know about brain-behavior relationships from neuropsychology and make it useful, make it measurable in the world of work. So how did she actually build it? Well, the journey started with a massive deep dive into all the existing science. From there, she conducted detailed interviews that helped her zero in on 24 specific workplace behaviors. Then she turned those behaviors into a questionnaire and had it tested and validated by 85 professional psychologists. And finally, all of that rich data was used to build a predictive statistical model. She went from pure theory to a practical, usable tool. So the big question, what did all this work actually uncover? Well, the model revealed that for young adults with moderate TBI, employability rests on 4 foundational pillars. These are the core factors that matter more than anything else. First, you've got problem solving and decision making. Basically, can you analyze a situation and figure out what to do? Second, personal accountability. Do you take ownership of your work, your successes, and your mistakes? Third is social and emotional intelligence. You can read the room and manage relationships at work. And fourth, self-confidence, a genuine belief in your own ability to get the job done. Now, all four of these pillars are obviously critical, but the research uncovered something truly fascinating. One of them isn't just a pillar, it's the engine. It's the surprising driver that actually powers everything else. So let me ask you, of those four, problem solving, accountability, emotional intelligence, and self-confidence, which one do you think is the real engine of employability? The answer? Self-confidence. It turns out that a person's belief in their own ability to succeed, well, it's the most critical factor of all. And here's why this is so cool. The statistical analysis showed that self-confidence is what they call the driver construct. What that means is when a person's self-confidence goes up, it directly boosts their problem-solving skills, their sense of accountability, and their social intelligence. It's like a rising tide that lifts all the other boats. So if you focus on building confidence, you end up improving all the other areas too. And get this, this isn't just some vague idea. The model Dr. Noble built is incredibly powerful. The number 92% means the model could account for a massive amount of the difference between success and failure at work. In statistical terms, that's huge. It's a seriously reliable tool. So what does this all mean in the real world for real people? It means we can finally move from just identifying a vague problem to having a concrete solution. This research gives us a roadmap for making that invisible barrier visible, and more importantly, making it manageable. And the model points directly to practical, simple steps that employers can take. We're not talking about massive, expensive changes here. We're talking about things like providing more structured supervision, introducing new tasks slowly and gradually, being incredibly clear and consistent with communication, and building a feedback system that feels supportive, not critical. These are the kinds of accommodations that can make all the difference. Ultimately, this research is a landmark contribution on two fronts. On a theoretical level, it's the very first scientifically validated model of its kind in South Africa. But on a practical level, and this is important, it's a real tool for psychologists and vocational experts to make objective assessments and design interventions that actually work, especially by targeting that crucial engine, self-confidence. So this work took an unseen struggle and turned it into a measurable framework for hope and for support. And it leaves us with one final powerful thought. If we can build a bridge to see this invisible barrier, how many others are out there, in our workplaces, in our communities, just waiting for the right tool to finally make them visible?